Let's talk about the F-47. But this isn't really an explainer about a piece of military hardware. It's about a story. A story about technology, sure, but way more about psychology and strategy and, power. The F-47 is less of an aircraft and more of a very carefully crafted message being sent to the entire world.
And this is that message pretty much summed up perfectly. This is the absolute core of why the F-47 even exists. See, it's not a threat in the old-school sense. It's a statement of capability so overwhelming that starting a conflict just becomes irrational. That's the real point of a sixth-generation fighter.
So, if you're a superpower in today's pretty uncertain world, what's the ultimate status symbol? Well, it's this. The F-47 is a narrative first and an aircraft second. It's the story the United States wants to tell itself, and maybe more importantly, its rivals, about who's still on top.
And that brings us right to our central theme for this whole thing: deterrence through narrative. The F-47's real power isn't just in its engines or its stealth. It's in the idea of the F-47, the story of its supposed invincibility. It's a story that's designed to be just as powerful as the airframe itself.
And a story like this, it doesn't come cheap. The initial contract that Boeing got back in 2025 was for over $20 billion. Yeah, that's how much it costs just to start writing this next chapter of air dominance. It kind of grounds this abstract idea of narrative in a number that's, well, it's impossible to ignore.
So this is the manned centerpiece of the whole next-generation air dominance program, or NGAD, and it's set to replace the legendary F-22 Raptor. But the name, F-47, that itself is a masterstroke of narrative engineering. It's a little nod to the P-47 Thunderbolt from World War II, and, as the story goes, to the 47th president who really championed the program. It's heritage and modern power, all wrapped up in one name.
Okay, so we've talked about the why, the story this jet is supposed to tell. But now let's get into the what. What's the actual machine behind this myth? What really makes the F-47 so ridiculously formidable?
Right. So while the really juicy details are, of course, classified, the specs we do know about are just jaw-dropping. We're talking about a tailless, super stealthy design that's built for one thing: pure air superiority. It cruises at over twice the speed of sound, with a combat radius of 1,000 nautical miles, which is absolutely critical for anywhere like the Pacific. But the real game changer? Its ability to command a whole wolfpack of autonomous drones.
The best way to think about it is like this. The pilot isn't so much a flyer anymore, they're more like a battlefield commander. The jet is the central hub, like a flying smartphone, and its apps are these loyal-wingman drones. They can carry extra weapons, they can act as remote sensors, they can jam enemy systems. This just completely rewrites the rules of an aerial fight.
So why is this kind of technology so critical right now? For that, we've got to zoom out a bit and look at the whole geopolitical chessboard. See, the F-47 wasn't just created in a vacuum. It's a direct answer to a very specific and very high-stakes competition.
And it's a totally fair question. You might be thinking, hey, the F-35 is an incredible jet. Why not just get more of those? Well, the Air Force's thinking is that the F-35 is a jack of all trades, while the F-47 is the master of one thing, and one thing only: air dominance. To really truly control the skies against a major adversary in the future, they believe they need a dedicated 6th-gen air superiority fighter.
Make no mistake, the F-47 program is a direct answer to China's aerospace capabilities, which are advancing at an incredible pace. What we're seeing is this kind of parallel evolution, where both sides are chasing similar 6th-gen ideas, things like stealth, long-range, and networked warfare. This right here is a technological core of the new race for dominance in the Pacific.
And then, of course, there are the industrial politics. I mean, think about it. Lockheed Martin built the F-22 and the F-35, the last two stealth fighters. So for Boeing to win this contract, that was a massive upset and a huge vote of confidence. It pretty much ensures the U.S. keeps two top-tier military aircraft makers in the game, which is a strategic asset all by itself.
Okay, we've looked at the hardware, we've looked at the grand strategy. But this all circles back to a much more fundamental idea, that this whole thing is a kind of global theater, that deterrence, when you get right down to it, is a performance.
This quote just captures the weird nature of the defense market perfectly. Taxpayers are funding the plane they'll probably never see, for missions they can't be told about, to counter threats that feel a world away. The product being sold isn't just security, it's the feeling of security, it's reassurance.
The ultimate goal here is to shape behavior long before a shot ever gets fired. The F-47's mere existence is designed to make allies feel safe and potential adversaries think twice. It's all about influencing the decision-making process itself, bending their perception of what's even possible.
And this leads us to our final, and maybe the most fascinating idea of all. It's this sort of Zen paradox that sits right at the heart of the F-47's purpose. Its greatest power might just be in its ability to stay hidden, to exist mostly in our imagination.
Let's call it Schrödinger's fighter. For an adversary, the F-47 is in this constant state of maybe. Is it out there right now? Could it be watching us? That uncertainty, that not knowing, creates hesitation. It complicates every single calculation they make. So the weapon's effectiveness comes from what it might be doing at any given moment.
So what is deterrence really? When you boil it all down, it's just a core idea from behavioral economics: loss aversion. You make the potential pain of doing something so high that your opponent just decides, nah, it's not worth it. The F-47 is that exact principle, just with a multi-billion-dollar brand name.
Which all leads to one final, really critical question. The plan right now calls for about 185 of these incredible machines. But can a force that small, no matter how capable each plane is, really pull off a global strategy? Or is the F-47, for all its story and all its power, really just a very sleek, very fast, and very, very expensive scarcity problem? That's the question that's going to define its future.